Hello to you. Welcome to tea leaf readings. My name is Lenore, and today I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. All right. Well, thank you for clicking on the reading. Thank you for being here with me. It is always such a great honor. We're going to take a look at some of the formations in these tea leaves and kind of see what's going on. What's going on in the world? What's going on with you? Now, the first thing I see is we have a cat, right? It looks like, where's my stick? We have the head, the body, the tail kind of coiled up here. It also says C, A, and T. Okay, so we have cat. The cat usually indicates to me a real sense of individuality, of being really pulled into that need for autonomy, selfhood, really just kind of like being on your dolo, right? On your own, solo, out there. I don't mean necessarily like dating out there, but I mean living life in your own movie, in your own story, in your own, great novel or whatever. You are embodying your whole being, right? You are not living in relation to other people. Or at least, right, this is maybe the hope. Now, I don't think a lot of people desire a solitary lifestyle. Not really. I think a lot of us say that, right? But then you get into it and it's not easy. It's not. I myself have lived in a truly solitary lifestyle and a living situation, and for a few years, straight years, where sometimes I didn't see people for a couple weeks at a time. I didn't talk to anybody really. And, obviously now I have a family and everything. So I didn't stay in that life. I personally did not mind it, but I do like to suffer. And it was a lot of suffering. It was a period of time that was like of great Saturnine work. It was sitting with self and really saying, like, what needs to change? Like, what do I actually want? Why am I here? Who am I outside of who I know? Who cares about me? Who maybe even loves me a little bit? What am I without all of that? Right? And, I don't know. I don't know how far you're into being your own individual being, in this ocean, this abyss. I don't know if anybody ever gets to that point of perception. Maybe, I don't know. But I do feel like there are times in our life where the work calls for us to be away. Now, it's not always accessible to do like I did. Pick up and move to the middle of nowhere by yourself with your cats. I was with my cats. I'd say I was alone, and, I was with my cats. There are more people than most people, so I did fib a bit here. I wasn't totally alone. But we go through these periods of our life where, like, yeah, it might not be accessible for us to go and be off, right? But we must create room within our days, within our hours, within, those quiet moments in the afternoon or morning, or, heck, if you're very busy, maybe sometimes you have to get up super early before everybody else. That's what I have to do, to live the life that I want to live. I have to get up super early. I don't sleep a lot. That's just what it is. That's just what it has to be, which is okay. My body gets owie if I'm laying down for more than like 5 or 6 hours. But, we have to create these little spaces. And I hear people often say, and I have said this myself, I'm sure, like, I wish I could meditate. I wish I had the time to do that. I wish I had the time to exercise or intentional movement or, do this or that for myself. I totally get that, dude. But like the way that we have collectively chosen to run our lives, our societies, to meet the, even just the minimal standards that we have to make money, to support, all the stuff, right? The garbage, all that monster over there. Setting aside big blocks of time, unless you're willing to like live a fully, I don't know, like monastic or cloistered or whatever lifestyle, or you can afford it. I mean, let's just be real. That's what it comes at. Can you afford it? Do you have that privilege? We have to find the time within our moments that we're already having. I mean, that's like praying on the toilet, not because you're on the toilet. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I don't even care. I know I'm already like probably shadowed or whatever they call it, banned, some kind of whatever. But yeah, like while you're changing the laundry, perhaps maybe you are gazing into the quantum, these are the places that we have to like, sometimes you have to do. I'm big on like right now I'm working on like wall sits. I'm still doing my deep squatting challenge thing that I've been doing for like years now, the 30 minutes a day in squatting position. Now, can I do 30 minutes straight? Yeah, obviously not, dude. Like, no. First, I'm way too gremlin-y for that. But you just have to find places to do it. Like, we don't have to sign up for the gym and get in the car and in our little gym outfit and drive over there and do the gym in a big block of our afternoon to only be the only place we can do intentional movement. We know this, right? But we forget this. For some reason, we forget it. We can make anywhere our gym. I don't care. I'm already like, I have no honor and I have no pride about how I behave a lot of times. Like, I mean, I'm nice, of course. Well, I try to, I don't like to make people uncomfortable or, I don't say things to hurt people like that. You know what I mean? But like, if I'm going to be, wiggling around in line, because babe, I'm like a little tap dancing around, right? Touching stuff and readjusting and, stimming to my heart's desire and all of that, and looking at everything and counting, all the stuff, right? I don't try to hide it like I used to. I used to really, really try to hide it, mostly through just being out of it, but it just, to me, all of it, I mean, honestly, all of it, where am I going with this? All of it really feels like we're so stuck in this concept of like, we have to be in the special place, in the special time. It has to be the right color and the right direction and the right this, and my shoes have to be like that, and I had to have not eaten in this amount of time, and and all that's wonderful and great, and it's fun. mental exercises and discipline. And babe, discipline is so, it has its like time and place and function, but dog, my guy, my homie, my love, my beautiful, you gorgeous babe, we can do these things anywhere, at any time. You're allowed. Nobody's gonna stop you. I mean, listen, within reason, right? But nobody's gonna stop you from meditating while you're going to the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, this sense of like really having to have space for yourself. That's where we're going, right? That's where we're at. It took all of that for me to say that. Okay, so anyways, let's get with it. Let's get with it. I'm under just the like wildness of it being warm, so warm. It was like 80 something degrees the other day. 2 days before that, 3 days before that, we got over a foot of snow and it was -3 degrees. And now it's back down to 20 degrees. And it was just 80 degrees. And that makes me scared, obviously. Like, above everything else, it freaks me out a little bit. But, yeah, just trying to, I'm so ready to just be out there. And I have been doing yard work and stuff. But, man, I'm wiggly, I'm going to tell you. And also, just dealing with, I know some of you remember TT. She has been having her journey out of her corporeal form, and that's been a big thing going on privately for us, and it really affects me because I spend a lot of time with her. She was my girl before I even met my husband and stuff, so anyways. So we have the high priestess with the head of, and to me, it's like a full, goat, ram kind of energy. Okay. Now, we're not going to deeply talk about the implication of the masculine and feminine being shown, but it is balance, right? This is great balance. There is a sense of true actualization of self, of being fully embodied in self, of finding a way to just be who you are, not performatively, just because this is how you will survive being a human. Right? This is how you will find the will to get up every single day and keep going. Not by fear, but there will be fear. Not by, the boot on your neck. There will be a boot on your neck, right? But the knowing that you get to express what you truly are. And you get to live as you are, as you want. And that doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. That doesn't have to look any certain way. There doesn't have to be a aesthetic or a theme or a style or a plan. Hopefully some plans, right? To tie it all together. It can be as messy and free as you want it to be. It can be as curated or not as you want it to be. But to know that you have the power and the ability and the willingness and I'm just going to say it. I can't say the word, but man, the courage to show yourself to people. Man, you know? That's super hot. As Paris Hilton would say, right? That's super hot, dude. So, a round of applause for you from me. Now, we also have the lobster, right? Holding the big old lobster, the crawdad, the, that saturnine melancholy surrounded by the abyss, right? And so there is that, right? You're not a ridiculous person. I think that you would say that to yourself. I'm not indulgent in ways that make you the fool, right? You are somebody who you're very, I mean, I think you're very serious in ways. Absolutely. Are you a ridiculously serious person to a fault? No. Right? But you're listen, I'm not going to say you're like, you read a lot of Camus, you know what I'm saying? But maybe, I don't know. Hopefully you were like, maybe you read some Mary Oliver. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, somewhere in there. But there's that ever-present thing. It's always there. That's the baseline. Right? And maybe at times you've been accused of being cold, of being cruel, of self-serving, I was going to say vindictive, but I don't think that's it. Not that, but just not always careful with other people, I think. And I wouldn't say anything to you that I haven't heard myself. Let's just say that. Okay. And there's no judgment in that, right? Sometimes that's just how we protect ourselves, how we stay alive. And then we see what we do to people, right? How it hurts them, how it affects them. Really how effective it is to our ultimate goal. Magician thinking, right? And we alter that behavior. We try to, at least, right? We change it. We do something different next time. We won't treat people like that again. Because you saw what it did. I think that you did at times, and this is probably long ago, you were maybe a people pleaser, because this you tried to hide. Because we came up in a time, and we probably still are, in a time where sadness, boredom, energies pent up and released in erratic way, all of this stuff, right? It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient, especially when you're trying to get stuff done, when you got to work a bunch and your kids can't feel that way, can't talk that way, can't act that way, bro. You can't all for years, most of your life, probably even to this day. So you hide it. And you hide it. And then it starts to eat you. I mean, it does. Like your legs, it's like all of a sudden you look down, there's this thing, it's eating away at my feet. What are you doing? What the heck's going on here? So we process it. We learn it. We look at ourselves. We don't have to romanticize it. Like, listen, you don't have to be the hot nihilist, like, when like a 20-year-old or whatever going to their first, second, maybe, philosophy class. But you learn that this is what it is. This is part of what it is. I don't know if that's always been like that, or if it's how we are reacting to the variables. But it is something that a lot of us carry with us, especially if you're a thinking person. I'm not saying a smart person or a wise person, but a thinking person, right? But here's the deal. I think that, in your acceptance of this and your understanding of this, you are being able to harness it in your favor in a lot of ways. It just being like, yeah, I'm not ever going to be somebody who, whatever it is, maybe you're not overly emotive. Maybe you're emotive, like, you're very emotive and it all gets out and then you like withdraw, maybe, I don't know, maybe whatever you are, right? We all find a reason to have some shame or guilt in whatever it is that we're existing within. And yet when we find a way to like be what it is, and oddly, this is a little secret, oftentimes when we start to accept it or even integrate it and venerate it and, honor it, this part of ourselves, it doesn't rule us anymore. And you don't really even have it as much. It's on to the next thing. It's like when you just accept something, this thing you've been anxious about forever, and you accept it, and then it's like a sense of like, okay, well, all of that worry is kind of like drifting away now. I can just, it's already, the scary part has happened, right? So, I feel like this is going to be a big power for you, okay? And knowing that, yeah, there is a sense of maybe, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like, and I keep hearing it, and I laugh every time I say this, like out loud. I'm hearing this in my head here. They're just how do I say it? There's just not a lot that you like about life. I feel like you feel very uncomfortable in your physical form often, for whatever reason. I feel like you are in a place in your life where you're learning to accept this. And change some of the stuff. Change some of the stuff. See, I have like sensory problems. They're not problems. I just have sensory stuff, right? We all do, of course. We're all mostly sensory beings. Some more intensely than others, right? Yesterday, and this is just a little example, but it's kind of like my little, revolution in my own home. But my daughter, she put on socks that I brought them to her, socks that she's loved for, she's worn them for the last 6 months, a year, whatever. Well, yesterday, she put them on, and she immediately said they're itchy. They're itchy. And I know that she thought I was going to say to her, you're just going to have to wear them. You always wear them, right? But I said, okay, well, what size do you want? Like, do you want the shorty ones? Do you want real long ones? Whatever. And she said, no, I'll just wear them. And I said, are they still itching? Yeah. Well, then take them off. You don't need to start your day uncomfortable and then trying to manage that feeling. Like, if it's something we can just try to fix, even if it is something that's just, it's like a little tick or whatever, right? Okay, cool. Let's change it. Well, I didn't come from an era where you just changed it. You know what I mean? You just sucked it up. You got used to it. You just dealt with it. And I think it trained a lot of us to just be uncomfortable all the time and to just deal with it, right? But then I'm hoping this is true for other people. You get to a point in your life where you start to accept, like, I don't feel comfortable. I don't like this. For me, I used like soap that made my skin irritated for a good part of my life. Partly because that's what, I was broke, so I bought what I could. But then I got proactive and I thought, well, maybe I should look into like a cheap way to use something that maybe would be for like sensitive skin. I get eczema and things like and irritation and whatever. And so I started using Castile soap, right? And I had to go through this process of discovering that world and, all this stuff. How to do that, how to do it, efficiently and financially, minded and all that. And it's just a change in thought, right? It's a change in how a lot of us were trained to be, right? Just you just accept. Now, we can't change every little thing in our life. We can try. I don't know how you would, but whatever. It's not very realistic. So some things, we just got to put up with. But there are other things that don't just need to be put up with anymore. And there's so much freedom in that understanding. It's okay to not do something that you don't feel comfortable doing, or be in a place that you don't feel comfortable. I found a lot of power in, for me, the lighting situation is a big deal for me. Not all places, I have to go places where I don't like the lighting every day. But especially in my own home, in my own work environment, do not put up with lighting I don't like. And most people will be like, oh, the overhead light, it's all in your mind, which I've heard most of my life, from so many, I've lived with so many people over the years, that roommates and, significant others and whatever, family, friends, all of it. But, when you have that little revolution and you're like, dude, I'm just not gonna be in spaces that make me uncomfortable for hours and hours and hours. I'm not gonna do it. It is so harmful to your psyche. And if you have the privilege, of course, I know, let me just say, I know the privilege, or you just have really low living standards. For me, I just got to a point where it was like, I'd rather be super broke and poor and figure out, how, working. I was a waitress mostly, working in places that I liked, like that, maybe not making a ton of money, but I didn't hate the work. I liked it. It was different every day, whatever. But I could come home and have what I needed and wanted. I wasn't living in a way, or I'm not living in a way that totally destroyed me. Other things did, right? And I was there to heal. But and there's and I know it, that sounds stupid and simple probably. Just even me saying it, you're like, okay, that's not illegal. But for me, it was a profound understanding of putting myself. And let me just also say, I wasn't married and I didn't have a child at this time when I started making these changes. So I understand that part of it changes, that it makes it much more complicated. It's not as simple. But I do. I think there's just so much in these minute little understandings that, like, logically you're like, oh yeah, obviously, Lenore, you don't want to be like working somewhere or hanging out somewhere that makes you uncomfortable. But we do. Oh, babe, we do. So much, right? So here we are. We're coming into this place where you are accepting yourself for who you are, what you are in this time. Let me just also say, it doesn't mean forever, right? This might be a season where you have more of that Saturnine energy, but you are honoring it and you are putting it to your use, right? And usually it's a good shield, honestly. And it's also something that it helps us see things clearly. I know it, like, you can feel very gloomy once you get down below the baseline, right? And you're in that sunken place. Not talking about that. When you are somebody who is often uncomfortable in your life for whatever reason, or you feel glum for whatever reason, or, if you want to do something, you really have to want to do it. It lets you see stuff for what it is, because, right, you're looking for reasons probably not to do the thing, if you're like me. But you're looking for reasons to either have like some redeeming quality, or, okay, this verifies, like, I'm not, I don't want to put my limited energies into something that I already don't want to do or be around or whatever. So anyways, I'm rambling. This is a rambly one. I'm okay with that at this point. You guys, I love you all so much. Thank you for putting up with my mind. I've been sitting with the cat a lot the last day, as she is getting into her final hours. And yeah, my mind has just been in a lot of places, as it usually is. Like, let's be clear, I'm always like, but it, being on the threshold and feeling that energy in the house, it's profound, and somebody you love so much, it's hard. It's really hard. I'm not gonna cry. All right. Not that crying's bad, but I just don't want to get blubbery right now. We have the 6. We have the 7. We have the 6 and the 7. We also have Cups. I feel like it's like a vacillating between like almost this like indulgence and this like guilt, and this indulgence and this guilt. And it feels like in the emotional spaces. I think you're a person that you seek pleasure, maybe in ways that aren't, maybe in ways that you just like don't really openly share. I don't know that I'm not saying it's like deviance or anything, but I feel like you're somebody who is very motivated by, probably, I'm guessing, in the physical world, pleasure. It is mental and emotional as well. Obviously, it's all connected, but I feel like you are somebody, like, almost like you're a adrenaline junkie, or, something like that. And that makes sense if you have that, like, really Saturnine energy as well. I feel like this is going to be a place where I think it's just like very potent. I feel like you having this very potent moment, a love affair, like a new degree of obsession within a hobby or work or something you're learning about or whatever. There seems to be this like hyper focus that's going to be coming together for you. So look out for that. I mean, really, don't be afraid to get into it because it feels like something that will be productive for you in some way. And I think you are somebody who worries about being productive. 72. Of course. Of course you'd come around, old 72. Again, Look at this, 72 again. Yes, I love you, I love you. I love you. 66, 72, 66, and 2. And the 2. All right. Well, I love you so much. I want to say that a million times. I don't have the time. You don't have the time, but I do. I love you greatly. I appreciate you. I thank you. Please take care of yourself. Yeah. Let's do some dreams together. And, oh yeah, put the shapes on the square, please. All right. Love you.